Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment, and this is one of my favorite places, as my audience know. I like to welcome our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things I deem very expensive, their time, 24 hours given to every man and every woman on this planet. We have time to remake ourselves, so there's no excuse. How you honor time and respect time will let us know a lot about you, because as you begin to honor her, your relationships become deeper. Your time and value, everything that you do becomes more rich. And so I invite all of you guys to begin to look at the value of time. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator that has created the individual before us. Disha is before us. And we want to honor her and give her the space and welcome her here. And I want to say thank you for coming and sharing both of these precious commodity here with us, because we feel here at Threads of Enlightenment, everyone that presents, there was a demand placed on her wisdom, her knowledge, and her insights, and we want to tap into all of those things today. Disha, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much for having me, Ken. It's great to be here.
It's an honor to have you. One of the questions, as I said on the onset, that I always ask everyone is, how do you serve mankind?
That's such an interesting question, right? And you really have to think about it. And I realized for myself that the way I serve mankind is to express, to actually discover and reveal and express in 3D all that is authentic within me, and express all the life within me, teach myself how to do it, and in doing so, help others and show others how they can do it themselves.
Well,
So it was to reveal.
You're always your first client. I tell everyone is always their first client. You got to do it with you first before you can develop your process. So, as you stated, you are that first client. So, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think your first client is always the toughest client, right? So I think I'm my toughest client. And it's been very interesting because, we look at the word authenticity, and there is so much going on in the self-help space right now. And it feels overused, and it feels, what does it even mean? And it's been a journey to sort of look down into what it meant for me, what my purpose was, how was I supposed to show up in this world? And currently I'm at this place where I've been I love myself very much. I have fought very hard, I think, to get to this point where I can love myself the amount that I do. But it feels like just the beginning. It just feels like I have so far to go. And so I've been on this journey of self-love, and, it's a tough journey. And like we were talking before we started, we've been conditioned in so many ways, and it's been so insidious. And I think trauma, it doesn't just happen in childhood. That's what I realized. It happens into adulthood, and we're not equipped to see it as trauma. We're not equipped to see what it's doing to our nervous system, to our bodies. And I agree that everyone is traumatized to some extent. And, to go back to that and even get to a point where this happened to me 2 years ago, where I had this realization that I was traumatized. And it was the T word, and it couldn't be said because, how dare you say you're traumatized, because you have so much to be grateful for, and life has given you so much, and you have all these gifts and talents. And I think that that's the first step. There are lots of hurdles on this route to self-love. And every time in my experience that I've tried to take a step, I've had people knock me down. But the important thing is to do it unwaveringly and to be committed, wanting to know, what self-love feels like. I'll give you an example. It used to always amaze me. Now, I don't have kids, but it used to always amaze me, how parents give their all for their kids, like mama bear,
Mhm.
or for friends, or for your partner. And I've done that for myself, for my relationships, for my friends. I've given it my all for my parents. I surprise myself with how much I can pull out of me, and it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like effort. It's out of love, and it comes in. I feel like I've done these, and I think all of us feel that. We don't acknowledge it, but we feel we can do these superhuman, in quotes, superhuman feats when it comes to others. And I always wondered, why could I not do that for myself? And according to me, I think you can do both. I think you can serve others amazingly and go all out for them. But how cool would it be to feel that same kind of love for yourself as well? And that's where I'm at right now. And that's what I'm slowly teaching myself to do. And it's almost like a muscle I have to practice every day to get better at it. And, I would love to share with your audience as they go on their journey some of the stumbling blocks that I had, which really in some ways broke me down. And, I wanted to stop and we feel alone in this journey. But I would love to share how I went about getting through them. So
We
that's where I'm
will.
at.
We will get to that place because that's what we do here at Threads of Enlightenment. We want to get to know the individual. As I said, my goal is to allow the audience to get to know you so that they will be able to extract from you your wisdom, your knowledge, and your insight. And I always tell people that those are some of the ingredients that we receive within our being as we go through our journey. And we are able to tap back into that and be able to be of service to others as well. And so, yes, we'll tap into how did you get out of certain things, what processes, what mindset you had to do, and how did you change those mindset. One of our customs here at Threads of Enlightenment is to go back to the beginning, if you will. And the beginning to me is that first space that we reside for a short time, which is with the family. And within the family, there are two individuals that we are told are called mom and dad. And mom and dad, from their trauma, again, they're traumatized. And if they're enlightened and have begun their journey, then they're able to deposit certain highlighted stuff. But if they're still in pain, they're also going to deposit stuff into us. And so this family unit is just a beautiful place for the programming to begin. We have religious programming, we have societal program, we have cultural program, the food, all the different things, the nuances of one's culture. It begins to be a part of our life. What was your family unit like?
So I'm from India, and family is very important to us right now. Even now, I live with my family whenever I'm in India and not traveling. And in my case, after I finished university, which I did biotechnology, and I did a master's, and I went straight into law because we have a law firm in India.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a patent attorney, and then I became a lawyer as well. So there was a lot of years of studying. And we have a pretty successful and quite a large sized law firm in India. And I went straight to work, and I've been working for a decade. And it was wonderful in some ways, but it was incredibly challenging in some ways because I was living with my family, I was working with them, and there is a lot of trauma. There is a lot of trauma. There is, there were increasingly sort of clashes, whether they were values or how you think as a person. And in India, there's also a huge expectation that whatever your elders say is right. And if you question that, that means you're disrespectful. That means you're ungrateful. So that's the first stumbling block. It's very hard to get past that because that's been conditioned into you for say 3 decades now. So to speak up, and if you do speak up, you're treated as if you're this rude person and cast aside and people get upset with you and society gets upset with you about it. So it's very difficult in that state to go down and say, what do I really want? And so I had a year, actually. I've been working, and I've been working in the law space. I've been working in the science and technology space, being a biotechnologist as well. And I was traveling all over the world and speaking at international conferences. I was doing all of that. And there was always pain. There was always something was never right. And I think I was so afraid that my life would just pass this way, where I would never know peace or joy. Like, joy had become this abstract concept that I could remember the word, and I could remember that it had felt like something at some point, but I couldn't feel it anymore. And in 2020, and this is a time when I was voted as, and I was acknowledged as one of the best intellectual property lawyers internationally. There was a lot going on, but the storm inside, it's always telling you something, and your body is always keeping the score. And I
Dasha, can
had
I ask you a
depression.
question?
Yep, sure.
Where did that storm came from? What was the genesis of your storm?
I think the storm was always there because I had this crazy love for life that had been with me for as long as I can remember. All I wanted to do was love life. I wanted to experience it. I was always so excited about it. I wanted to see different places, experience different things, meet people. People around me were very constricted in the way they saw life. It was like, if you've seen one thing or done one thing, that's it. Stay in that lane. Don't look anywhere else. It's too scary to look anywhere else. My confidence took a beating. My self-esteem was completely shattered. And the person you see in front of you right now that person did not exist anymore. It's like I had lost her completely. So in 2020, I went through a year of depression, and I never thought it could happen to me. And there was no empathy or sympathy, right? You were this high achieving person. I got into the best universities. I was top of my class. I was going to Cambridge, and I was a leading lawyer, and I had everything going for me. So sort of breaking down was seen as the ultimate proof of your worthlessness, right? At that time, that's how people treated me. And I took it as that. And for 1 year, from June 2020 to about May 2021, I just stayed in bed. I don't remember that period very well because I was like, how could I have stayed in bed that long? I just stayed in bed. I would walk up and down in my room for 4 or 5 hours a day with anxiety. It was crazy to me but now looking back at it, I think that there was a lot of wisdom there as well. My body just said, stop. We are not going to go on this way. You need rest. You've been broken down, and I'm going to give you that rest. And it did. You asked me the question, where did this storm come from? It was there even then. It was so clear to me. I said, this is not how life is to be lived, and I love life. So there's not going to be any other way. I'm going to go and figure out joy. And it felt like the lessons would never end. It felt like it was just darkness. Nobody seemed to be at that point interested in this journey, or there was a lot of superficial talk about positivity and believing in yourself and authenticity. But just like scratching the surface a little bit, you would see that people wouldn't actually do it. So you couldn't actually talk to them about the problem or the things that you're going to face when you do go through that storm. You couldn't. And for me, I lost a lot of friends at that point because I was supposed to be this super energetic, full of fun, always organizing things and the light of the party kind of person. When I was depressed and down and needed help, it was just like, nah, you're worthless to us. Go fix yourself, and then you can show us your face, right? And this traumatizes you again. It's very hard. And so it's been building from there, I've gone through the ups and downs, but one thing I never wavered from was that I have an idea of what life, intuitively from my heart, I feel that that's what life should be like. And I'm going to figure out a way to live that kind of a life. And I didn't know what that way was. I didn't know how it was going to happen. But I said, well, I'm not doing anything else other than this. So I took a break from my business. I left. I left an 80-year-old business empire, and I followed my heart, and I went to Thailand. I always wanted to go to Thailand for boot camps. And what started off as a 2-month boot camp, and I was 70 kilos, I lost 10 kilos, but the weight didn't matter. The 2 months I was there, it turned out to be 12 or 13 months over a 2-year period. And that's how I learned to slow down. And that's how I learned to just listen to my heart, even when it was beating so hard, even when I felt like, what are you doing? Your savings are going to go. You know, you're going to be back at square one. You're going to, what face are you going to show everybody? And you still face that, and you're still like, there's something telling me I have to do this. And that's what I've done. So I think the last 2 years, I've really just completely thrown myself into this and into finding answers. And
As you stated, as you threw yourself into it, when you were there in that room for X amount of months and you decided to leave, what was that conversation that propelled you to open the door and walk out of that bedroom and begin that life of self-discovery, as you stated?
I had a good friend reach out to me and say, do you want to go to a wellness place in India for a week?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a friend I trusted, and I did go. And just getting away from my environment, just being outside, I remembered a little tiny bit of who I was. And I remembered a little tiny bit of that vivacious personality that was always mine. That was just the start. And I was already planning to leave, but this was just helpful that it came before. And I got up and I was quivering in my boots, and I found the right kind of boot camp for me, and I booked it. I was very scared when I left. I felt, what if I'm making the biggest mistake? What if I'm alienating people? What if I'm going to lose even more people? What if I'm a quitter? Because we've been conditioned that if something's not working, you have to stay there and you have to keep trying. And if you don't try, that means, and if you don't get through it, if you leave, you're a quitter and a failure. I had to learn for myself that there's a difference between not quitting, and there's a difference between being extremely smart and walking away from something that doesn't serve you, something that is toxic. And that's not a lesson we're taught. That's something we have to learn and experience for ourselves. And I got a lot of people sending me sort of nasty messages, on social media. Some of them were friends saying, you're not sincere, you're not motivated, you're just escaping. Who goes to Thailand for fitness? If you really cared about yourself, you could do that in India. You could do XYZ. Suddenly all these people who weren't actually living that life and who had no interest in whether it was physical, mental, or emotional fitness were telling me how I should be doing things. And I found myself at that point trying to justify to people, saying, yes, I am grateful. They're like, but you're not grateful. I said, how do you know I'm not? How do you know what goes on in my mind? How do you know how many times I say thank you in a day? And slowly I realized that a lot of them came at me because I had done something which they hadn't yet done, which was to give myself permission, even if it was for a short while, to just go and do whatever I wanted to do. And I liked it. And it was incredibly scary, incredibly isolating a lot of the times. And so I realized that it's about, and now it's changed. Now 2 years have gone past, and the people are coming back to me and saying, quietly, Disha, how did you find the courage to just do what you like? Where did this, I've changed so much fitness wise, Ken. I honestly thought if I ran 5 kilometers once in my life, that would be enough for me. and
Yeah.
I'm running 10K on a regular basis. I'm doing 20, I could barely swim 20 meters, in a pool. I regularly do the Ocean Man open water competitions, 2K. I'm walking up to a 5K competition. The last time was through an ocean of jellyfish. And now that people are seeing this, they're coming to me and saying, we really want to do this. Can you help us with figuring out our purpose? And we just want to know. You asked me the same question. You said, where did this storm come from? And I just point to my heart. And I said, that's where it came from. And it's in all of our hearts. It's
Yeah, I agree.
there, and we're scared, and we have every right to be scared. And there's no shame in that. And it's a beautiful journey. It's a tough journey, but at the end of the day, it is completely worth it because you are fighting for you. You are fighting to discover your soul and why you came here, And that's how you're going to serve everyone else best, right?
Yeah. Once you locate you, that's the key, is to locate yourself. So when you came and you found the boot camp and you were there for a little while, what did you learn about you at the boot camp?
One of the things I learned was that you could give me an inch of support and I would run a mile. So kindness worked very well for me. A little bit of attention, a little bit of support, a little bit of encouragement worked wonders for me. And when I found that, at first I got really angry. I said, I see so many people around me having so much support. Why not me? It feels so unfair. Am I not worthy? Am I not deserving? What else do I need to do to prove that I am worthy of people's support or love or, whatever? And I realized, and I felt this. Let's not say realized, because that's more at the mind level. Like you actually feel this in your being. I realized that kindness could take me a long way. And I said, let me be kind to myself. Let me practice this. So I started learning how to be kind. And one of the things that really helped, I think my emotional work that I did at that time, more than the physical fitness work, the emotional work was much, much more intense. And I used a lot of modalities, but internal family systems is what really helped me because it was so natural and so intuitive. And I could talk to myself and I could talk to my parts. I could talk to the part of me that was being critical and screaming at me saying, you didn't go for a run at 5 a.m. You don't deserve nice things. And you turn it around slowly. And now if I feel that, I say, okay, would I say this to somebody else? If the answer is no, I don't get to say it to myself. Yeah, and I did that and I realized my body was incredible. It was incredible, the things it could do. And I was never sporty, Ken. In India, where I was raised, it was all about academics. You wanted
Yeah.
100%, you wanted 95%. Why didn't you get a 97%? So I didn't run. I didn't lift weights till I was 26. And to discover this whole side of me, which I always wanted to discover. And I was always very clear. I don't know where this clarity came from, but I was always clear that I was never okay with, say, just having a great business and career and money, or just having physical fitness, or just having great relationships, or just being incredibly spiritual, but not having, anything materialistic there. I was like, why?
Yeah.
All of this is a part of life. I want all of it. And all the time it was like, you can't have it all. Okay, maybe you can have one or two. And if you can, then be happy and shut up and sit down. And I was like, but I want to bet on life. I want to bet on my life. And I want to figure out if there is a way. And I'm happy to do that. Life wants that from me. I trust life and I trust the universe. And that was a different journey altogether. I'll tell you, me and the universe, and we've had our ups and downs. I mean, there have been times I've just told the universe, great, I get it. This is a great lesson and I'm going to love you tomorrow for this lesson. But right now, I don't want to talk to you. Okay. You and me, we're not on speaking terms right now. Right. So I think those were the kind of things that happened. And I think I trust myself a lot more. And if I bet on something now, I bet on my heart.
It's a good
And
place to
I,
bet. It's a good place to
yeah,
bet because you're talking about the journey that we're here at Threads of Enlightenment. We encourage others to embark on because there's nothing like finding out who you are, how precious you are. And I've been teaching many years now, and I've always taught people that you have to look at yourself as an endangered species. When I was going through my journey, I saw myself as an endangered species because there's only one of me. And I had to learn how to love me, respect me, and honor me, and give me that type of view, which was one of the hardest thing I had to do. I had to learn how to forgive myself because I thought I was the biggest failure because I believed everything else everyone said. I had to learn how to, I walked in so much shame that I had to learn how to have a conversation with my shame and tell them, thank you so much for bringing me to this level of my life, but we must part. I had conversation with my anger, all of these different things that we pick up and we walk with in life. And forgiving the self is one of the hardest things to do on this planet. It took me years. I was one of the hardest, and you will always be the hardest critic on your own. There's no one harder than me. And so I have to learn how to be empathetic with myself. I have to learn how to be patient. I have to learn how to put boundaries. What you're talking about, Disha, is you have to become a disciple. A disciple is one who is doing it day in, day out. It doesn't matter how bad you feel and all these different things. And you have to allow yourself for those backward stepping. If you
absolutely.
are harsh on yourself all the time, it's not good. And I always tell people you have to learn how to be kind to yourself. That's one of the good ways to start your journey is to be kind. Speak kind words to you. Why? Because everyone else has been speaking harsh stuff to you. Why can't you speak kindness to you? And as you speak kindness to yourself, you will see the changes. You will begin dishes. So you become you learn how to trust yourself, and it takes
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
long time. It doesn't. It's not a McDonald's. It's not a Burger King. You have to put in the work. But I want to encourage all of you guys that are listening to us. The work is worth it. The result is worth it because you will see how great you are and how beautiful you are. And as an endangered species, you're required to be kind to yourself because once you're done, you're done. Because their industry based on how unique you are. The retina, voice recognition, face recognition, all of these fingerprint, whole systems are built on the uniqueness of who you are. So don't let them tell you anything different. You may be in pain. I learned something a few days ago that transformed my life about the journey. The journey is about dispensing of an old self. And when you are dispensing of that old self, it is like dying because you're about to create a new individual. The only way you can create is that you have to have the mindset by which you are going to pick the thoughts that you're going to choose to give birth in your life. You have been believing the crazy. I tell people to make it simple. In the thought life, you stand in the center. We are told to be present. That's where we are told to live. Every sage and everybody will tell you that's where, but we don't know how to live there.
Yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
there's a couple of things I tell people that lives in our past: shame, failure, disappointment. All those things live in the past. In the future, we have a couple of big boys there: fearfulness, anxiety, all of these different things, expectation. All of those things are there. But in the center is the present. And what you do in the present will keep you growing stronger and stronger. Don't go back into the past. It's gone. Your future, you can't do anything about it. If you could, you would have never been in this situation. But what you can do is control your thoughts in the present. And when you do that, as Disha said, you have the universe. Some people say God, some people say the universe. is working behind the scenes with this creator that is present. Be present. It is one of the best things you'll do. So here you are. You went and on your journey, you began to look into the self, you began to learn a couple of things. As you said, the universe and you had some disagreements from time to time.
Oh, we still do.
Yeah,
Of course.
and you're learning all of these lessons. As you're learning all these lessons, as you said, you're expanding your body, your mind, all of it to push it beyond what it was comfortable doing. Education was what your family and all the culture was pushing, but you wanted to taste and push the body. As you were pushing your body, what did you discover about you?
Like I said, I was doing both. I was pushing my body and I was regulating my nervous system, and I was learning to love and accept my emotions all at the same time. And a lot of times pushing my body, obviously it just gave me incredible confidence. And I think when we've been diminished so much and when we're broken, we're trying to find a way out. Whatever we can do to feel that spark of joy again, whatever we can do to feel that little bit of confidence again, it's almost like that gets the wheels rolling again. And fitness gave me a lot of that. The first time I did a personal best at something, the first time I fixed my shoulder, I had an injured shoulder. The first time I figured out with my physiotherapist I could fix my ankle. All these things, suddenly I was like, wait, so this can be fixed? When my whole life I was told, no, it can't. You just have to deal with that. And it was so cool because now I would just walk into the physio. I was like, oh yeah, you fixed my shoulder. Can you fix this wrist? Because I'd given up on it and now this can be done. So there was this like renewed enthusiasm, and suddenly it was like my eyes were open wide. And I was like, if this can happen for fitness and my body, why can't it happen for everything else in my life that I had written off because people told me it couldn't happen? And I was like, I just need to find the right support. And I was back. Even for my emotional, mental well being, when I first started seeing therapists, 4 or 5 of them, it was horrible for me. I was re traumatized again by these therapists, and I had to find the right ones. And now I found 4 or 5 really right ones, and I reach out to them as and when I need them and for different reasons. And so that was fantastic. I was like, I can fix this stuff. Nothing is, irreversible. Like, I can get really fit, but I can do that for my business. I can
Yeah.
do that for having the kind of life I've always wanted. So there was a lot of excitement and a lot of just seeing what my body could do. I'd love to share this quote with you. When I read it, I was like, oh, this is totally me. This is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was by Socrates. And he said, no man has a right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man or a woman to grow old without discovering the strength and beauty of which their body is capable. And I read this and it was like, wow, this was the storm. This has always been the storm inside me. And it has always been for not just physical fitness. It's always been for everything else as well. Anything that my heart called out to, really. So yeah.
What tools did you bring into your life to help you to navigate through from one to another? As a therapist would, as you said, you have your team right now and they uncover a certain trauma or whatever. What modalities, what type of tools did you bring into your life to assist you to move from one to the next, from A to B, if you will?
Of course. I think the first thing was to find a therapist or a counselor where you feel safe and you feel heard, and you can be vulnerable with. And you will feel that when you're with them. You will feel it. That was the first thing. I remember the first time my a counselor believed me. I had to find her on Instagram. Don't be afraid to look for help. It may not come the traditional way. I followed somebody on Instagram. I really liked what they had to say. They made sense. I reached out to them. It opened the floodgates. It took just one person believing what I was saying for me to just be okay and take the next step forward. I did a lot of reading work, like with the things that, for example, Gabor Mate has written on attachments. He is amazing. There's a book called You're the One That You've Been Waiting For. There's The Body Keeps the Score. That's another book. And if you put all of these together, there's a picture that emerges. And then there's obviously Dr. Richard Schwartz, and I would really urge people to look at internal family systems. And if you're looking for counselors, or if you're looking for a modality that could help, this was amazing. You can even just read books about it and see how you feel about it. I did do EMDR as well, which is the rapid eye movement therapy, and that was helpful. Some of my therapists had me draw stuff out. I have always been a big proponent of writing, and I write a lot. And actually, that's what I'm transitioning my career into. I really want to put everything that I have learned into books, into media, for people to be able to really feel the journey and to not feel like they're alone on this journey. I write copiously, and that's been another landmine, right? Putting myself out there and, saying, yes, this is what I want to do. Feeling scared of going for my dreams, because I've been protecting my dreams for so long that I had forgotten how to live them. So now I have to learn I can stop protecting them. They're safe now. I just have to help, like I said, put it out in 3D. So these were the modalities, and there's a lot of courses as well. And I've always, any course that kind of reached out to me, or, made a connection with me, I would do. And I've recently done a more energetic release course. So we've done the physical work for fitness, and we've done the mental work, your mindset and all. You've done the emotional work, loving, accepting your emotions. That came through IFS for me as well. And recently I've just finished an energetic course. I was specifically for money and abundance, but it was brilliant. It was brilliant because there's so much energetic release that happened that I think mentally or emotionally I would have taken much longer to do. And the audience can find it on Instagram. It's a wonderful woman called Paget Kaji. And the next thing I'm on to doing is a quantum shift accelerator, because I'm at that place where I'm ready to really leap and do these quantum shifts, because there is so much I want to do in life. Like if I told you my interests, like I love diving and I love horse riding and I love wine and I love gemstones and I love dancing. And, when you think about and tennis and fitness and climbing mountains, and that's just some of my interests. So I'm trying to become the kind of person that can hold space for all of this, because there is life inside me wanting to do this. And I have to become the kind of person that can give birth to this life.
Yeah. And that the quantum field experiment, or not even experiment, the quantum field exercises is all about getting in touch with your energetic being, who you are in your essence. Because in the quantum field, the material can't survive there. It's only the essence of who you are can be there.
Absolutely.
So you have to learn how to get there. And everything that you need is there.
Yeah.
Health is there. Wisdom is there. Whatever you need resides there. And the only way for you to get there into the quantum field is that you have to learn how to shed all of those things and get into that space as your core essence of who you are, your energy. And then you are able to extract what you need from there. If it's healing you need, you'll be able to extract it and bring it into the natural realm. I grew up in the church. The church calls that the heavenly places. Psychologists calls it the quantum field, same location. And so we
Yeah.
all have, the only way that an individual can access that is by faith. Faith is your essence of who you are. And so when you read stories, I read the Vedas, I read all the different books and the I Ching and the Bible and all of it. Anyone who ever accessed that realm had to do it by faith. There's no other way. You have to shed everything. You have to shed all your beliefs. You have to shed all of your expectations and everybody. But once you're there, you you have learned how to access. You can go back and forth. and be able to live in both worlds. And that's the beauty of it all. But you have to, as I said, it's your essence that goes in there, not you, not your flesh. And so
Yeah,
all of those
and I
crazy
love
things.
how you said it. I've actually like written it down to remember. It's beautiful what you said, that, this quantum field, it's a place, then the only thing that can reside there is your essence.
Yeah.
And I, it's beautiful because I do feel that, and I'm trying to reach it. You completely described what I'm trying to do right now, which is I'm saying, I'm going to get there and we'll operate from there. And
Yeah.
that's the focus. The unwavering focus is to do that. How I keep figuring out ways to do it. And that is relentless. Like that I would never give up on. It always keeps me going. And of course there's faith that it's there because I have experienced it in my own life previously in different examples in different ways. And this is what I want life to be. And then I choose to have, in my journey, I've chosen to have, I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I decided, I was like, okay, time. I am going to define my relationship with you. We're going to have a blank slate, and I'm going to define how you and I are going to be in a relationship. I did the same thing with pain. I did the same thing with fear. I did the same thing with anger. I did that with the universe and God, and I'm doing that with life and saying, we're going to define the kind of relationship that we're going to have. We've just been taught so much. We've been conditioned in so many ways. We don't even know all the ways we've been conditioned in. And, it's insidious and it's relentless and it goes on. And said the only thing I can do is be right here and say, what is the relationship I plan to have with faith, with everything else, and time in my own life?
Yeah. The meditation is one of the tools, one of the vehicles, if you will, that's able to transport you there to the place of the quantum realm. Some of those who can't meditate, breath work is the bridge between the natural and the supernatural. You have chanting is another tool that can access that realm. You have many different tools. You just have to find which one fits you, and then you're able to access that, or you're able to transport yourself there. So that's an individual journey that you have to begin to expand, but people live there all the time. And like I said, but those are some of the main tools that are out there. That there's so many different tools out there. You just find what fits you and work with it. Allow it to transport you to that area, because as I stated earlier, everything is there. Everything. And so
Yeah,
if you want it, you have to
absolutely.
go get it. And you have to become disciplined, a disciple. Meditation, all those other tools, modalities that you will implement. It's every day, every day, every day, because you're now beginning to take your thoughts and use your energy to control your thoughts, your mind, your location as to where you are, because your mind will try to bring you a certain location, bring you back. Your position will always be present. When you stay there, you will get everything that you ever need and want. So here you are, Disha. You've achieved much. I've read all the things that you've done and plan to do. And what is it that you feel in you today that there is? I always tell people that when there's an unrest in some of us that is moving us to expand. That unrest is always there to expand your world and to take you beyond your current state. What is it that you're feeling in you today that you feel that is bringing you to the next level of expansion?
It's just this absolute restlessness to create.
That's powerful right there.
I have stopped and I have rested, and I have reluctantly rested at the start because I was always pushing myself and saying, okay, you've rested for 2 days. Okay, you've rested for a month. I mean, I wasn't actually resting. I was doing the physical fitness work and I was doing the emotional work. But, you don't really look at rest enough. but I do feel rested now. There's just this hunger to create. And even now, when sometimes my body says, please rest, I do rest. But it's just this yearning. There's going to be a reconciliation very, very soon. And it's all going to burst out. And that's the edge that I'm on right now. I'm very
That's
happy to
awesome.
be here.
It's a great place to be. All of you that have been listening to us, we're going to provide all of her links for you to get there, because get there so that she can show you different modalities that she utilizes to get to where she needs to be, because we all want to move from where we're at. Those that are serious, and I tell people, learn to transition from listening to a podcast to become a hearer of that podcast. Because the principle is that only the hearers are justified, meaning that only the hearers will do something about it. The listener will find another podcast. And so I invite you guys to play it again and switch your focus, receive what was said, and be free. And so we're going to provide everything for you to get to that level so that you can get to know who she is, so she can help you to get you to understand who you are. Asha, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much for having me, Ken. It was amazing to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully, you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.